Yes. Can you see my slides? Hello, Che.
Yes,
You can see them, eh?
yes.
Okay, that's good. Now, allow me to start presenting right away so that we can save on time. So, class, welcome to today's session. Our normal unit, structured programming. I would like to start by maybe checking whether we are able to remember what we read last time or what we learned last time. Last time we talked about programming paradigms and also examples of structured programming languages. Can someone remind us, just give us two examples of programming languages and structured? Someone?
Hello, Mwalimu.
Yes?
Yeah, one of the structured programming languages that we can use.
Yes.
One of them is C language.
Okay.
We have another one by the name Pascal,
Yes.
and maybe I can add Ada.
That is very good. Thank you for that, Jeff. All those are programming languages and are structured. So thank you for that. So in our case, in this class, we'll be doing the C language. So before I start today's session, I would like you to ensure that you sign in the LMS. Ensure that you sign, you confirm that you are in. Sign attendance in the LMS. It is active. It will end in the next 2 hours. So I would like to share the learning outcomes for today's session. So by the end of this class, you should be able to identify the format of a computer program, describe the fundamentals of structured programming, and also be able to write readable programs in C language using the different coding styles and standards. So those are our learning outcomes today. Now, we are going to start our class by checking or getting to know the format of a C language using a simple program. A simple program in C to display hello world. You can see here we have #include standard input output .header. So this statement is a preprocessor directive which tells the compiler to accept input and process it into output through the console, or that is now on the screen. So this simple just a simple preprocessor directive to tell the compiler to allow what the user keys in and then display it on the screen. Then we have the int main into bracket, and then we have the opening brace. So the main function is simply the function which indicates where the execution of the program will start. So all the time in C language, execution of our program starts at int main. Then down here, we have what we call comments. Comments are just lines to describe what is happening in a given section of a program. Like for example here, we have #* my first program in C. What is happening here is simply just to tell someone who's maybe not a programmer that this line will display or will just show that we are displaying something on the screen. Then we have the printf. Printf is now for output. Whenever you come across the printf, the statement or the keyword printf is normally used in C language to give the output. And then we have the /n indicates that the output should be displayed in a new line. Then finally we have the return 0. The return 0 terminates the main function. Remember we said the int main is where the program execution is starting. Then we have the return 0 to show that we have come to the end of the execution. Then finally now we have the closing brace. Remember after int main we had the opening brace to show that now we have a group of statements which are executing a given task in a code. So the closing brace here will indicate that we have come to the end of or terminating or bringing those statements to an end. So down here I have the explanation, or what I've explained in regarding that program is given by these statements. So like now we have talked about the hash include, which is a processor directive, the int main. All these is what I've just described. So I don't know whether someone has a question before we proceed to another objective. A question? Okay, are we still together, class?
Yes, we are there.
Okay, that's good. Silence, I think, means maybe you've understood. Our next objective will be what we call the fundamentals of structured programming, specifically in C language. Or rather, what you need to understand first, the major aspects regarding C language that you need to know for you now to be a good programmer in C language. So the major fundamentals of C programming are the syntax, data types, variables, and operators. I think we have checked on the syntax. Now the three which are remaining, I'd like to see whether you're able to remember or you're able to know what are data types, what are variables, and what are operators. Someone to tell us what is or what are data types in programming.
Teacher, are they memory locations?
Yes, named memory locations. Remember to use named. Thank you for that, George. So they are simply named memory locations. What about variables, class? What are variables? A trial? Variables? So basically when we talk about variables, these are just names that we give to program entities. Names that we give to program entities. We may have a function, we may have a method. All these are variables. The names that we give to programming entities or program entities. Like for example, when you talk about int number, in that case, number is the variable. It is a name being given to an entity that we are using in a program. What about operators, class? Operators? Someone to try operators? So something you need to know about operators is that there is something you normally call operands and the resultant operand. For example, when you have x plus y is equal to z, x and y are operands. We are summing the two operands so that we can get a resultant operand or the output. Now, in between there, we have plus, x plus y. Plus in that case is an operator, a simple that is normally used to perform an operation in a code. So in this case now in our class we are going to discuss later the various operators that we have in C language. Like now we'll talk about the arithmetic operators and many more others. So simply put, the fundamentals of C programming languages basically are the programming syntax, data types, variables, and also the operators. The next thing that we are going to check today is program writing in C. So since now we have known the syntax and the various fundamentals of C language, we want now to see how do we write programs in C. In my case, I'm going to give you an example of a code which will simply add two numbers. So this is my code. As you can see, the preprocessor directive we mentioned is included here. So hash include, we have the main function given here, and now data type and variables are being used in our code. So int number 1 and number 2, int is data type, number 1 and number 2 are variables, and also sum is a variable. Because we are adding two numbers, we need to have two variables. So our variable, the first variable is number 1, number 2, and now when we add the two numbers, we are going to get sum. So the sum in this case now will also be a variable. Printf, of course, we said it is for printf is to give something which will be, or the output, what should be displayed on the screen. So the user will be prompted to enter two integers. Scanf will accept the input through the console, and then down here we are going to give sum. How are we going to get the sum? Sum will be given by adding number 1 and number 2, so that now we can get the output. So the printf in our case will be given by, after summing up number 1 and number 2, the printf down here will give us the output. Then return 0 will give, or will terminate the main function. Remember we said that the main function is where the program is starting in terms of execution. Return 0 is where the execution ends. So that is a simple program in C language to add two numbers. Any question, class? A question?
No.
Okay. So I'm going to give you an assignment where you're going to write a program in C to find the average of three numbers. I want you to write a program in C to find the average of three numbers. You are going to submit your assignment through the LMS. You are going to find, I will activate the option to submit your assignment through the LMS. You just code your program, then copy it to Word, ensure that you indicate your admission number, then submit it through the LMS. So for more information, you can check on the references that I've indicated here. I will share the slides after the class, so you can use these materials for more reference. Now, before we conclude, or before we bring the class to an end, today I just want to remind you what we have learned today. We have learned about the format of a C, programming language that we call C, the format of C programs. We have talked about the fundamentals of C language, and finally program writing in C. Someone to remind us which aspect of C language is fundamental for you to be able to become a good programmer. How many fundamentals have we talked about? We have mentioned there.
Yeah, Malim, we have talked of variables.
Yes.
And you have also discussed data types.
Yes.